Hello, my friends. Let's talk about My Hero Academia. Coming off of the end of Season 2, Deku and the rest of Class A have all faced the question of what are a hero's burdens by both their professional mentors and their fellow classmates, as well as by villains like the hero killer's Stain. They are feeling confident, capable, and ready to take on any challenge that high school wants to throw at them. Having dealt with some very real threats, many of Class A's heroes in training, Deku included, are feeling like they know exactly what it takes to be successful as heroes in the real world. But the real world is about to catch up, and Season 3 is about a question much bigger than a hero in training. Armed with this confidence, they charge headlong into the training camp. But Deku finds pause to his excitement when he encounters Kota, a young boy living with the Wild Pussycats, because his parents, a duo of professional heroes, were killed in action while fighting off some villain. Kota has become resentful of the hero society as a whole because it put his parents in a position of needing to save everyone else, but no one was there to save his parents, leaving Kota orphaned and alone. Deku finds himself struggling to make Kota see why the heroes are valuable because Kota and his family have fallen through the cracks of this system. Deku is unable to defend this system that he was so confident about just days earlier. Then, whatever sense of confidence and preparedness that Class A felt is shattered when the League of Villains attacks. Deku ends up expending practically everything he has to protect Kota from the villain Muscular. This inspirational demonstration of will, the unmitigated desire to help someone in need that was the focus of Season 1, inspires Kota to embrace that spirit of altruism and try to save Deku as well. But while Kota was won over to Deku's way of thinking, Kota and Deku's fear comes to pass when the League of Villains successfully steals Bakugo and leaves several others in critical condition. The professional heroes are then thrust into a situation where they must prove that they can save one of their own in order to prove to the public that heroes are capable of protecting society. Season 3 of My Hero Academia has, up to this point, been showing us that a certain psychological phenomenon, the bystander effect, has become endemic in their society. The bystander effect is what happens when a large group of people are witness to some immediate and obviously harmful or dangerous scene, but nobody takes any action to remedy the situation. The reason being that everyone expects that someone else will call the police or do something to help. In the world of My Hero Academia, everyone is under this effect because they believe that All Might or some other hero will show up to help. Now the League of Villains is able to state their case and try to convince Bakugo to join their side. Shiragaki Tomura, the leader of the League of Villains and protege of the infamous All for One, expound that they aren't against All Might just because they love crime, but that they want to end this culture of passivity, and the only way to do that is to destroy the system of professional heroes by destroying its symbol of peace. It is later revealed that Shiragaki is, in fact, the son of All Might's predecessor, Nana Shimura. Nana left Shiragaki in foster care to keep him safe from the dangerous life of a hero. All for One manipulated this situation so that Shiragaki would end up abandoned because of this, thus allowing All for One to come in and present himself as Shiragaki's savior. With this history, the League of Villains comes to represent a real debate happening in Japan's current political culture. Japan is a society in which only a few decades ago, a large portion of Japanese identity was wrapped up in their warrior culture. War and conflict was a proud part of what it means to be Japanese, up until the end of World War II, when Japan, as a part of their surrender, was required to renounce war as a whole. But people who maintain the old ideology today describes the current state of Japan as being drunk on peace, and that Japan's problems can only be solved by embracing that pro-war history. It is that ideology that brings us to All for One. During his fight with All Might, All for One monologues about the problems of society and the world that he envisions on a national broadcast. But All Might has already lived through that world once before, already thwarted that vision, but now there is an audience. Now the fight between All Might and All for One becomes a competition of ideologies, presenting different answers to the question of what makes a more ethical society. All for One presents a society where each individual takes personal responsibility for determining ethics. In order to make it happen, however, you need a high degree of threat to overcome, high conflict in order to remove complacency. Everyone has to be engaged, and thus no one slips through the cracks, like Kota or Shiragaki. This society is in a state of war, and if it weren't for the obvious self-indulgent motivations that cause All for One to espouse his view in an intellectually dishonest way, it would be rather convincing. Under this suggested system, might makes right while parading under a false guise of meritocracy. The only reason All for One wants this is because he believes that he can stand at the top of the food chain. All Might, having inherited the power of One for All, was able to create a society where ethics is localized into a single entity, a symbol of peace. The hero profession wasn't successful at reducing overall crime until All Might forged this new belief structure. Now, this society does suffer from an increase in the bystander effect. Because they can believe in something external, people become complacent. However, there are far less people seeking to use conflict as a means to assert their ethics onto others. Thus, by and large, people seek out peaceful ways to settle their differences instead. But by the end of the fight, All Might is spent, and the symbol of peace can no longer play that role. And this fact makes the fight not just a competition of different ideas, but an example of Hegelian dialectic. In philosophy, there are two main structures to a philosophical dialogue. The first is Socratic dialogue, where a questioner asks someone to agree or disagree with certain premises, then draws a conclusion from those premises' relation to each other. If you or an interlocutor disagree about a conclusion, then you go back and you fix your understanding of the premises. The second is Hegelian dialectic, in which two people who have reached different conclusions compare them, see the flaws and where they are lacking, and then attempt to create a third, new and improved idea. When All Might points to the camera and says, "Next time is you," we can see it as a message to future villains like the public. We can see it as a message to Deku to become the new All Might. But instead, I think it is best seen as a message to everyone watching the broadcast, all the civilians and all the UA students that were inspired by All Might and will become the next generation of heroes. One for All is the thesis, a society that values peace above all. All for One is the antithesis, a society that values personal engagement and responsibility. Deku, and thus us as the viewer, are thus the synthesis. When All Might points at the camera, he is telling us that we must now each be personally responsible for the peaceful revolution of society's ethical conflicts. No more dragging your feet just because you can, and this all goes back to Deku. In Season 1, Midoriya chooses the name Deku because it sounds like the Japanese word dekiru, and why Uraraka says that the name gives a gambare-style feeling. Deku means that you can do it. Deku is not the hero that says, "I will save you," but the one who says, "We will do this together." And it is this message, the synthesis of these two ideas, that forms the meaning behind Deku's name, All for One and One for All. Thank you for watching, my friends. This brings the three-part analysis of My Hero Academia thus far to a close. What I love most about this show is that, unlike the big shonen action of the past, it is planned out, concise, and coherent. Rather than just endlessly growing stronger or pushing their ideals on others to win, My Hero Academia is a world that grows and responds to the outside challenges rather than moving past them. So I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. If you liked this video, like and subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to see more from me. New videos come out every Saturday, so I hope you will join us next week. We are still a small community, so the only way we can grow is with your help. Thanks again, and remember, stay true.